The US inflation report for May is the key event of this trading week. The US dollar is rising against all currencies amid the expectations of the report. In our video review on InstaForex TV channel, we will find out what boosts demand for the greenback and what other events will shape the market sentiment this week. Early on Thursday, traders will have a chance to evaluate the global economic situation by means of China's trade balance data. Exports and imports figures of the largest producer of goods will point to the level of consumer and production activity in the world. Against the backdrop, the Australian dollar, the currency of the main supplier of raw materials to China, may become more attractive for investors. According to the forecast, the trade surplus may increase amid rising exports and imports. Notably, in May, activity is likely to be low due to the quarantine measures that were withdrawn only at the last weekend. Nevertheless, investors are likely to show optimism caused by measures taken by central banks. Recently, central banks of various countries have been taking aggressive decisions to cap the galloping inflation. On a Tuesday, even the Australian regulator unexpectedly raised the benchmark rate by 50 basis points at once. Now, in the light of record high consumer prices, traders are expecting the same actions from the European Central Bank. However, analysts suppose that the benchmark rate will remain unchanged. Nevertheless, it's obvious that the ECB will continue narrowing the asset purchasing program to conclude it by the third quarter of the year. Only after that, it will launch monetary policy tightening. However, traders want to see decisive measures right now. That's why the regulator's hesitation may lead to the euro's depreciation. The Central Bank of Russia will also announce its decision on the benchmark rate as early as Friday. The central bank is expected to cut the key interest rate by to 10% or 9% from the current level of 11%. However, this action will hardly affect the Russian ruble. Meanwhile, comments on the lifting of restrictions on the sale of foreign exchange earnings by Russian exporters may allow the ruble to leave the overbought area. On a Friday, during the American session, the US will disclose its inflation data. According to the forecast, the consumer price growth pace will remain at 8.3% per annum. Such results may force the Fed to choose a more aggressive approach to the key interest rate hike. The employment report published last Friday proved that the US economy is ready for such actions. Thus, investors expect the regulator to raise the benchmark rate by 50 basis points at the meetings in June and July. The necessity to combat surging inflation may boost the greenback. Also, on Friday, Canada is going to unveil its employment change data. The report may allow the Canadian dollar to withstand the rising greenback. The fact is that the number of employed people is likely to climb, thus supporting the whole labor market. What's more, growing oil prices are propping up the Canadian dollar. And we will monitor the market reaction to the above-mentioned reports. Subscribe to our channel and follow changes in market sentiment with us. Any comments, questions and offers are welcomed. We wish you profitable trading and see you soon.